WX app users. Thank you for joining me. We've got some winter storm advisories that are up for many in the area. Winter storm warnings more up towards Boone and Spruce Pine. So let's turn you around and let you see what I've got on my screen. I've got the most recent NAM 3KM up. Really thinking, initially, some models have shown some front-end precipitation, some front-end snow with this, but I'm becoming less optimistic about the wintry threat with this storm as we move a little bit closer. That warm nose on the NAM 3KM is really strong, and it's going to melt most anything that's going to come through the atmosphere, and surface temperatures will be right around freezing, and especially down here along the Blue Ridge Escarpment. I'll show you in just a few minutes into Wednesday morning where we have this sleet or this really freezing rain developing as just a very shallow layer of cold air is funneled in by a relatively strong high pressure up here to the north. That will create some ice accretion on trees and elevated surfaces. Some bridges and overpasses could become icy early Wednesday morning. But gosh, this event's just a really difficult one to call regarding the amount of freezing rain because we've got warm air reaching all this, and there's going to be this line that sets up of area where there's almost a degree a mile of temperature difference, and some locations will be in the mid 40s, and we'll see people in Haywood County will be saying, "Well, it's 45 at my house," and somebody in Henderson County will have 32 and ice on their trees. That's just how these events go. I really hate forecasting them. Especially when there's no snow involved. There could be a little bit of snow on the front end. I'll show you what the Canadian model's showing. It's showing this column of air here being frozen as that precipitation moves in tomorrow evening. Not sure if we can take that for certain. This is just a one model run, but let's look at the soundings. I'll show you. This is what I was talking about, how the Canadian model has that front end as snow. So if we'll show you what the sounding shows, you can see we'll follow that 0 degree isobar, and that line right there, that's the temperature, the red line, really isn't affected by that warm nose as that precipitation moves in. So that's why you're seeing a snow sounding there, a snow to sleet. But as we move forward, you can see this warm nose begins to develop right here around 700 millibars, and that temperature will just melt anything coming through the atmosphere that's frozen. So you can see surface temperatures here, though, are 29, and that could create some if this model a lot of times is a little bit colder, shows temperatures a little bit colder than what actually transpires. But you can see right here the sounding is saying its best guess is this is a Sharpie sounding is freezing rain, and really just a tough call though. If surfaces are around 29 when the rain moves in, we're going to see a lot more ice accretion than if they're at 32. Things are pretty warm around here right now, and I'm just, I was more optimistic about frozen precipitation as the GFS was showing a little bit more snowfall occurring, and the NAM showed a little bit of that, but they've really enhanced that warm nose as we get closer, and sometimes that happens. But what's also happened is the surface temperatures have decreased a little bit. So let's look at show you the sounding for NAM 3KM at tomorrow morning. You can see much more pronounced warm nose. Surface temperatures around 33, saying rain here. And I believe that. You can just see a very stout warm nose here. Gosh, gets to like 7 degrees Celsius, which is just really strong and not going to help out any snow that comes through there. It will melt, and I don't think that it'll ever refreeze, and if the surface temperatures are around 33. So we're talking about a 4 to 5 degree temperature change within the short range models here as we approach. So kind of a difficult call here, and just kind of playing it by ear. I think that some freezing rain will be likely around Henderson County, Brevard, Fletcher, and Black Mountain. Maybe a little bit in Fletcher, Avery Creek. This one's really difficult to make that call. That cold air is going to flood in all the way up in the French Broad River Valley. But how deep it is will determine if we get too much freezing. But really just think this is kind of going to be a nuisance event for the area. Might see a tenth of an inch to 0.25 inches of rain, a quarter inch, but that's going to melt off relatively quickly. And, any problems with power lines, I believe, will be fixed relatively quickly. And we'll move forward with our lives. I believe that we'll see the rainfall is, some models showed 10 inches of rain or more, but they've kind of went away from that for southwest portions of western North Carolina. Now showing 3-4 inches of rain instead of that 6 to 7, which is much more tolerable for our streams and creeks. Feeling a lot better about the flash flooding threat and the lack thereof moving into the weekend and into next week. So, like I said, precipitation amounts are decreasing on models. That flow seems to set up a little bit farther to the northwest and is dried out just a little bit. So good news there, and weather seems to be what looked to be a real active week, looked to be taming down just a little bit. So thank you all for joining me. Hop over on Facebook. I'm going to do a Facebook Live real quick and let everybody know what's going on there. Thank you very much.